Okay, we're only two teams left now. Red Bull is up next. Obviously, they still have the same driver in Daniel Ricciardo, who, I mean, you can't say enough about Daniel Ricciardo in 2014.
Really can't.
The only man to win a race beside that wasn't driving a Mercedes. And in fact, he didn't even have a Mercedes power plant, and not he didn't do it once, he didn't do it twice. He won three races, three races. If it was one or two, I'm sure you'd get people saying, "Oh, he got lucky," and he was kind of lucky in some of those. But it's all about being, positioning yourself so that you can take advantage when things go south for the cars ahead and stuff like that. So, there's
Exactly.
some luck involved in there, but there is an incredible amount of skill and talent that is also involved with it. And he proved that with those three race wins. I don't think anybody expects Daniil Kvyat to challenge Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously, Kvyat's an impressive driver. He's a fast guy. He's got a year under his belt now after driving for Toro Rosso. But I think anybody that isn't Russian is probably going to tell you that Daniel Ricciardo is probably gonna win when it comes to that battle. Obviously, the Renault power plant is a little bit better than it was last year. Hopefully, a little bit closer to Mercedes. Um, I mean, I'm curious what you guys think, but I mean, it's pretty safe to say that it's very likely that Daniel Ricciardo will win at least one more race in 2015, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's it's kind of up to Mercedes again
Right.
if they're gonna have some bad luck or stuff like that, because that was pretty much what happened in Canada, and that was pretty much what happened in Spa,
Hmm.
which is I still can't comprehend how you can win Spa in an underpowered
Right.
car.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable how he did it. So that's just baffling me. And yeah, I mean, it's really hard to think how Kvyat could be at his level, but we'll really have to
He
wait
does
and
seem to
see.
adapt quickly. I'll give Kvyat that. He
Yeah,
does seem to be a
yeah,
quick adapter. So he very well could be troublesome. Maybe as the year progresses, that does happen with a lot of guys when they go to big teams. They really struggle in the opening races, and then they start getting their composure together and everything like that, and then they start challenging their teammate.
Yeah, I mean, earlier I touched on Ricardo, so I mean, he really has impressed me. So I think Kvyat will get to a similar level. I don't know if he'll ever get quite to the level just because of how impressed I am with him, but Kvyat's definitely got talent. I mean, he qualified fifth twice last year.
He's
So
consistency too. He's got consistency.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, he's pretty consistent, especially considering how new he is. I mean, he's only had one season F1, that was last
Hmm.
year. So it's I like you. Can't see him getting there straight away purely because Ricardo's so good. But I think he'll get to a similar
Hmm.
level. But maybe they're just not quite all the way. And yeah, just I mean, Ricardo, like you said, you can't say enough
You
about him.
can't.
You really can't. It's absolutely amazing what he's done. I mean, no one expected him to beat Vettel full stop, let alone beat him from the word go and then dominate him throughout the season.
Yep.
I mean, dominate's a strong word, but going into every race weekend, you expected Ricardo to win or to beat Vettel. I mean, which who ever thought we'd be saying that
Well,
when
actually,
Ricardo
I do
started?
believe at last year's Boxcast we did predict that Ricardo might beat Vettel only because he has more experience with cars with not quite as much downforce and stuff like that.
Yeah, we did, but not
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 to
by as
this
much as he
extent though.
did.
Yeah,
No,
there's no way
nowhere
we could
near.
have predicted that he would beat him that badly.
Yeah, I mean, do you watch Top Gear? You too?
I did.
yeah. I
British Top
did.
Gear.
I did not see the. I know what you're talking about. I saw it all over
Yeah.
Twitter and how amazing Daniel Ricciardo is.
You got to see it. It's an amazing, and it just like he's ever since last year really, because that's when he's getting into the limelight. But he's obviously I'm a Hamilton fan, but he is definitely a second. He's my second guy I would support. So if Hamilton retired, I would definitely support Ricardo. Just because he's a wicked driver. He's got loads of talent. He's like really consistent,
He's got a
and he's a
great
great
attitude
driver
too.
and such a good
Such a
attitude.
good
Like
attitude.
he's always smiling, which is obviously great to see. But he's also it's not just like doing like hollow smiles. He genuinely is like
Yeah.
he's genuinely happy to just be
Yeah.
there. He just loves his job, loves everything about it. It means the world to him. And he's great fun. He's a good laugh. You'll see that on Top Gear, and he's just such a. Ignoring the racing, he's a great guy. Like probably one of the best guys on the entire
Hmm.
grid. And then you add the fact that he's got immense talent. He's just absolutely amazing. And even now, I've not done justice anywhere near to how how I think probably everyone feels about him. So, and like you have to watch the Top Gear episode. I almost support him as much as I support Hamilton now, which is quite a big thing. And I think if Hamilton continues his moody demeanour, I possibly might even otherwise jump ships. I'd always support Hamilton, but I might be rooting for Ricciardo just as much. Really.
I mean, Verne went to Formula E and got like pole position in his first race, by the way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fact that Ricciardo is this fast and this impressive, and we're all of a sudden learning it at the end of 2014. I mean, what does that say about Verne too? I mean, clearly, Red Bull really are doing a fantastic job with their young driver program, because Verne was never really far off the pace of Ricciardo. I mean, Ricciardo never never destroyed Verne.
Kvyat,
right?
Really.
Exactly. So, I mean,
Verne's just your typical experienced driver. Like I think he's got more pace than, like you said, than people give him credit for. But he's just your typical experienced driver in that he is very consistent. He will generally always finish the races. He'll always get about the result you expect him to. But he's just that little something extra missing compared to the extra talented drivers, which is why he was overlooked twice. There's just something missing there.
Right.
With Verne.
Ricciardo got
but
that.
Like I said,
he got like a really like a 5th place qualifying in China in 2013 or something like that. Like there was a couple like just moments in 2013 that I think really separated him from Verne. But I mean, we've seen now Ricciardo's true pace, and I mean, I think it says a lot about Verne, about the Red Bull Young Driver Program, about a lot of different things.
I think part of it's come from just getting signed by Red Bull, just a huge confidence boost. Having a much bigger team around you, helping you do setups, helping you develop the car how you want, all that sort of thing. So that definitely, having Vettel as a teammate, that's got to help us out.
And beating him.
So that. Yeah, so he's definitely improved. Well, yeah, so he's definitely improved since he joined Red Bull. But like you said, he still had that raw talent there when he was at Toro Rosso. So it does say something about Verne, and that he was a great driver. And I think he'll have some now, especially getting that instant podium in Formula E. I think he'll have some success.
Oh, yeah.
Has he gone to WEC? He's gone somewhere. I can't remember.
I think he's just sticking in Formula E for now. Do you know, Miko?
Verne's gone to Ferrari to test.
That's right. That's right. He's that's right. He's test driving for Ferrari.
Jerez.
Yeah, that's right. And I noticed in a picture not too long ago. I noticed that there was, and I would have to actually really look this up to make sure, but I think there is some sort of Mexican sponsorship now on the Ferrari, on the 2015 car. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I think there is.
Yeah, I think there's like some Claro sponsorship or Telmex. The type of stuff that Gutierrez usually brings.
Yeah, I think there was Claro sponsorship on the front suspension.
Yeah, I remember seeing something on that, which I thought was pretty interesting. So Gutierrez, even as a test driver, is actually bringing money to his team, the new team of Ferrari. So I'm sure they got to be happy about that.
Claro front suspension.
Yeah, you see it? Okay. Yeah, I didn't actually pull it up, but yeah, I noticed that, and I thought that was pretty interesting. We're getting off topic of Red Bull here, though. But I mean, do you expect them to be even more improved? Like, do you expect them to be even closer to Mercedes this year?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I still think Mercedes is gonna be in a class of its own, but still they're gonna be a little bit closer.
I think the chassis will be a bit better than last year. When everyone's chassis is going to be better, but relative to the rest of the team's improvements, I think it'd be a bit better than last year's, but not hugely. Because last year's chassis was already very good, but they've lost Nui. He is still there and he's still helping out, but he had a much bigger influence over last year's car than he has this year's car. But of course, they've got last year's car to go off, so it's it's not going to be a sudden downfall just because they lost him. And obviously, it's not just Nui that does the team. He helps a lot, but it's not just him. Obviously, that designs the car. So I think they'll make a small improvement in that area, but I think the biggest improvement will be the packaging of the engine, which is Red Bull's obviously bag to do that. To get the cooling just right, get the packaging just right. That would be the biggest change with this year's chassis, not necessarily the downforce level or the drivability, because that was already very good last year. That was already pretty much on a par with Mercedes. So. Yeah, but I just think Mercedes are going to have taken a very similar step to everyone else. So I think we'll get into that properly in a minute. But
of course
they'll be pretty dominant. So.
Yeah, it's more work for them to make the same percent of gains relative to the rest of the teams. It's going to take far more effort for them to find 1% more speed versus other people. Purely because they're at that top level. So I would expect relatively, again, it's all relative. I would expect Red Bull to be a little bit closer to Ferrari at least. I gotta say, just before we move on to Mercedes, with Red Bull, and I'm wondering if you guys agree with me on this. With Newey slowly, edging his way out of Formula One as a sport entirely, I mean, are we going to see Red Bull returning to championship level stuff? I mean, are they just going to continue to slip back? And next question, if Red Bull isn't winning, are they going to even continue in Formula One?
Do you want to go first, Miko?
That's a good question. I still think their budget is enormous.
Mm-hmm.
So even without Newey, they're still gonna attract so much talent
This is
in
true.
the design team. That's gonna be like everyone's dream, just to see their pedigree in motorsport, winning those 8 titles
Mhm.
in total. So that's gonna be so attractive as a job, still in Formula One, even without Newey in the charge of the or the aero department.
I gotta say, I agree with you
So-
on that.
So I still think the team is gonna do well, and I think this season it's gonna be more about Renault stepping up their game than Red Bull,
Yeah.
because we could see that the Red Bull was not surprisingly closer to the front in heavy downforce tracks.
Or in the rain,
Then,
like in Suzuka,
yeah,
we
or in
saw
in
them
the
pretty
rain,
quick.
Yeah. So there's no doubt that their packages, they've still got so much secrets that everyone doesn't seem to know about. If you look at 2013, their chassis was just unbelievable.
Mhm.
So
And the cylinder, they had the
undeniably-
cylinder cutting. They've always
Yeah,
been
yeah.
doing on that like, kind of like innovation.
yeah, so I still think they're gonna be innovating and they're gonna be still up there. But I have to agree, if they're not winning, I'd say up until 2020, if they haven't won
Wow.
a title between now and then I don't
Or at
see
least come
them-
close.
Yeah, I don't see them continuing
Yeah.
in the sport.
Because I think they like winning.
Yeah.
Just before I go over, to, give my opinion on what you just said, but like, I think 2020's. I mean, that's 5 years. That's a long way away. I would say 2018, so 2017 rule changes plus 1
Mhm.
year.
Yeah.
Then if they're still uncompetitive, then I think they'll leave. But there's been talk, and it makes a lot of sense for me, that Red Bull are going to sell their F1 team and make it the Red Bull F1 World Championship.
Whoa.
Which,
I have not heard that.
that's
I have.
Yeah,
I still
this-
think that's so far out.
That's
yes,
ridiculous.
It's a few years ago I heard that, but that makes sense to me.
They have enough young drivers.
Red Bull have got nigh on infinite money, so they've got so much money, so that's not really the concern, and they're in it purely for the marketing. And yeah, they obviously want to be associated with a fast team, but if they're associated with the fastest sport in the world, that's a very similar marketing
Mhm.
ploy. And it just, the fact that Christian Horner is going to be probably effectively the next Bernie Eccleston probably helps, and it just all fits together to me. I wouldn't like it, but it does. In terms of Red Bull strategy, it fits very well. So I don't know if they'll leave or they'll do that. Like Miko said, it's kind of unrealistic. I still don't think it will happen, but it's the thing that makes the most sense for me with Red Bull. And the article I read gave a few examples of other sports they've done it in as well. When you got like the Red Bull Air Race and things like Red Bull Soapbox Derby, they tend to own the sports that they're
It's
in.
true.
And none of them are as big as F1, but
They've got the money.
That's what they do. Like the Edge of Space thing, I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, I
But,
remember.
the
With
obviously
Baumgartner.
that was very Red Bull branded, and yeah. So that's the most likely thing they'll do it instead of buying a team in F1. But I like Namika said, I think they're more likely to leave, to be honest, purely because that's such a big thing. It's such a huge sport.
Right.
But yeah, so moving on to Red Bull's kind of performance level with Newey and stuff, and I think what's amazing about Red Bull, what's made them so competitive is modern and dynamic structuring.
Mhm.
So Ferrari and McLaren have fallen back because they've had the structure that great, it worked brilliant 10 years ago.
Right.
They won championship after championship after championship. F1's just so different now. Even 10 years ago the internet was barely a thing. Computers weren't half as powerful. This is only 10 years, not long ago. Now it's just a whole different beast, isn't it? It's just totally different. So and the fact that Red Bull they've just completely changed. They made manufacturing much faster. I don't know. I'm guessing, but I reckon they probably had about half the manufacture time as Ferrari as of a couple of years ago. To produce new front wings and stuff, and just all things like that, investing in new technology and restructuring the whole team around Nui. Having Christian Horner as the main boss, but kind of is it Mateschitz is kind of still there as well, kind of helping run. Just the whole structure of the team is very modern and it works very well. Because I mean, obviously Nui he's not just the designer. Obviously, he's also kind of a director of the team as well. And he's quite high up. He's not just a car designer, because you don't see the car designers in most other teams. They're not sat in the pit wall. They're back in the base designing their next car. So it's a very especially when it came in a few years ago, it was a very different team. And that's how Mercedes, I think, have got success, because Ross Brawn basically made it a very modern team, and I think that's where their success has come from. So I think I agree with Miko in that I don't think losing Nui is going to suddenly make them an average team. I think they'll still be a very strong team. They'll still attract, a team with a £300 million a year budget it's always going to be competitive. For Ferrari, they've got a similar budget, and yes, they've not been that competitive, but they've that last season was their worst season ever, and they still came fourth for the constructors. They didn't do horrendously bad. They just wasn't great. So I think they'll always be up there for sure. Like I said, because what's great about them, I don't think is necessarily their head designer. Yeah, he's helped a lot, and he's also structured it how he wants it. And if another guy can come in and either restructure how he wants it, or just literally jump into Nui's shoes and do it very similarly, I think they'll do fine. But yeah, like I say, I can't see them falling too far back. And I do agree that I think if they keep not winning, they will just leave the sport, because that's why everyone's a bit scared that they don't want Red Bull to have too much power, because they are just a drinks brand.
Yep.
McLaren, Ferrari, they're
never going to leave.
Mercedes,
they might.
I think now they might, but it would take a lot for them to leave, and they're unlikely to. It would be more the politics they would leave because of, I think. Yeah. So that sort of thing. A lot of the teams got investment. Whereas Red Bull is just a drinks brand. It is just purely a marketing ploy. That's all they're in there for. It doesn't the speed and the gives you wing things is kind of a small thing, but not a major thing, really, is it? There's plenty of other things that are quick. Red Bull Air Race is a good example and that sort of thing. So, so I think everyone's a bit scared of them kind of leaving and just completely dropping their two teams, because two teams, four cars. Imagine if they just suddenly left. We'd be down to late night maths, 14 cars on the grid. It's past midnight when I was listening. So yeah, I think it's an interesting one, but I don't think they're going to be.
The good news is, though,
continues to be very strong.
Their team would be appealing to a buyer. You know what I mean? Like somebody who's interested in getting into F1, and let's say they have the type of capital that Red Bull has. They see like a team like Marussia or Caterham for sale, and they're like, that's the equivalent of buying like a fixer-upper house. Like, it has a lot of potential, but you'd have to put in a load of work to really get it to the point where you want it. Whereas the Red Bull team, if they decide to sell while they're third or fourth fastest on the grid, that's going to be a lot more appealing to someone. Toro Rosso, not quite as much, especially because they're Italian based. So if Red Bull pull out of the sport, I think we'll definitely see at least one team leave in the form of Toro Rosso. But I think at the very least, the Milton Keynes Red Bull Racing, that would, somebody would buy that. I'm pretty confident.
I do agree, but then if someone's got £300 million a year in their pocket plus, and Red Bull don't quite know that much.
McDonald's.
But that's my point. There is people, there is corporations that have already got that money, and if they really wanted to be in F1, they would be in F1. But they're not. They if someone with that level of money could quite easily start their own team and be competitive pretty quickly with that level of money. So yes, I agree they would find a buyer, but if there's a buyer with that much money, they would already be in F1, and if they wanted to be.
Yeah.
So it would still leave a hole, I think.
Right.
Well, realistically, you're looking at some of the big car companies.
Right.
That's
going
to be
exactly.
interested.
Yeah, exactly. But again, though, if they're gonna, if they want to come in, they will. Like VW are looking into it, aren't they, at the moment? And I really hope they do. But
Yeah, well, they want,
if they're
they
gonna come
want
in,
to
they're gonna
buy
come in.
from the top, because they don't want to be last of the car manufacturers.
Right.
Yeah. But again, if VW decide, yes, we do want to come into F1, they'll figure out a way to do it. They will buy Sauber, they'll buy Lotus, they'll buy out a team. You'll say, look, do you want 500 million quid?
Yeah.
Yes, please. So it's if a team really, my point is, if someone really wants to get into sport, they will get into
Yeah.
sport. However, a team doesn't have to have a for sale sign on it to
It
make
helps,
a
but yeah,
big
you're right.
corporation like that. It helps, but it doesn't make a huge
Yeah,
difference.
you're right. But yeah, if there was like a big corporation, because that happens all the time. If there was some big corporation that was on the fence about it, and they saw that Red Bull was for sale, I think they're a lot more likely, for example, to purchase Red Bull than
Yeah,
they
I
are
agree.
Toro Rosso, just purely because of their base
Yeah.
location. So I think Red Bull is more likely to continue, at least as a group of people, if not the same brand, versus Toro Rosso. But